Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got a pretty interesting shell combo out here to test. It's one that we tried a little while back, but I still wanted to test it through a few different chokes to see kind of if it might work out or it might not. Because the shell is not necessarily made to do what we're going to try and do with it. But several of you guys have requested to see these to see if they would actually work for turkeys or not. So we're going to continue to test them a few more times and see what kind of results we can actually get out of them. So for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Fiocchi Golden Pheasant shells. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, ounce and 3/8 payload of lead number 5 shot, going about 1250 feet per second. And these are obviously not necessarily made to be a turkey shell, but they are loaded pretty similar to some turkey shells with a little bit lighter of a payload, so they are a little bit less recoil heavy than a turkey shell is. So a lot of you guys have wanted to see if you went out and got a box of these, could you actually use them for turkeys or not? We tested them a little while back with some kind of borderline results, but maybe through today's setup they might do a little bit better for us. And as for that setup today, we brought out the Remington 1187 here, but I threw in this choke. This is my Kicks Gobblin Thunder 655 constriction turkey choke. It's a little tighter than what we tested last time, and in general, this Kicks 655 has done well for kind of bringing in or taming some of these cheaper, not so amazing turkey patterning shells to be a little bit better in the pattern department. It is a little bit tighter than I would typically probably use for number 5s, but I figured a little more constriction might actually help these shells out a little bit, but it definitely could throw our pattern way off as well. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. The target is set up at 40 yards. I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So we'll get you guys to view the target, take the shot, look at the chrono, and then look at our results. Hopefully the birchwood Casey plays nice today and actually flakes off how it's supposed to. If it doesn't, I've got the paint marker out here to actually mark stuff so you guys can see what's going on, because this batch of birchwood Casey targets has been terrible. Either way, let's go over here and see what this combination can actually give us for a pattern today. I hope it works out, so let's head over here and take the shot and just see what kind of a pattern we get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1300 through the chronograph. That's 50 feet per second above the 1250 claim that's on the box. But we do have a 28-inch barrel on that gun, so that's not necessarily surprising, and it's still within the realm of reason for that shell. So I wouldn't say there's anything too strange to see as far as our velocity goes, but how well did they actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see what they actually gave us. Alright, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And of course I had to get the paint marker out again so you could actually see what was happening down here, but we do have a dead bird. There is one through the brain there and several more down the spine, so you would have absolutely come home with the turkey at 40 yards. And looking at the pattern here initially, it's definitely way better than the last time we tested it. I think the last time we had this shell out here, we ran it through the Tightwad 660, so a little bit more open constriction, but this actually kind of sort of seems like it has a little bit of a core starting. And mind you, these are not turkey shells. These are essentially glorified target loads that are kind of just upland game loads. They're nothing fancy whatsoever. But our core-ish area right down here, what's on the screen, is definitely hotter than what we see around the edges. So I definitely think that tighter choke absolutely made a difference here. Now, is this what I would call an impressive turkey pattern? No, not by any means. But is it a pattern that is good enough to get the job done? Yes. This doesn't really look far off from what we've seen out of a lot of Remington shells, and those have always been not anything impressive but good enough to get the job done, and this is pretty much the same. So we definitely have a little bit hotter of a core area here, and I mean there's nowhere within that turkey paper that that bird can move to and get away from you. So we definitely saw an improvement. Around the edges we still do see a pretty broad and kind of scattered shot pattern around there, but that's not really anything surprising for what these shells are. Either way, they definitely seem to be liking a little bit tighter of a choke. So maybe we should run them through a couple of my other tighter chokes. I've got the Remington 650. I've got the Carlson's 640 we can test. And we might be able to see what they do, if they like a little more constriction or not. But this does prove that when I say sometimes a cheaper, not so amazing shell can benefit from a little bit tighter of a choke than what you would initially think, sometimes it's actually correct. But I guess at the end of the day here, it's not a fantastic turkey pattern, but it's one that if you were recoil sensitive, that you could be confident in at 25, 30, or 35 yards. So although it's not anything amazing, I think we've definitely got some good results here that we can work from here, that's for sure. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and as you can see, it's pretty much just your typical target field style wad. Definitely nothing impressive, not a turkey wad whatsoever, which is definitely a big part of why these shells don't pattern quite like a turkey shell would. The wad, the buffer material, which I don't think they really use any in those shells, but it all makes a difference. But, I mean, there's nothing stuck down in there. There are some pinholes and stuff through here, but it did go through a pretty tight choke for lead 5s at 655 and a kicks choke at that with porting. So this is not at all unusual and pretty much what I would expect to see. Either way though, the wad is not completely destroyed. So that tells me we can probably go a little bit more in constriction and see what happens. It may help us more. It may hurt us a whole lot. I don't know. But either way, the wad looks about like I expected it to look. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern there? It's definitely not anything outstanding or to write home about as far as a turkey pattern is concerned, but is it good enough to get you a turkey out to that 40-yard range? I'm going to say yes. Now, past 40 yards, I don't think I'd really push it. But if you were really recoil sensitive and wanted something that would get the job done confidently, at say 30 yards or so, yeah, that would absolutely do it. But as always, let me know what you think about it. Is that the kind of pattern you expected to see? Were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? Have you tested these golden pheasant shells out of your setup or tried to turkey pattern them? And if so, what kind of results have you seen out of them? And do you want to see us test these through that little bit tighter of a choke or maybe even a little bit more open of a choke just to see what happens? Let me know all that down below. But as for today, I'm saying that's pretty much on par with a Remington shell. It's definitely not going to win any looks contest, but it would absolutely get you a turkey. And I guess for some people, that's all they really need. But either way, with that being said, I've got some more testing to film for you guys today, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.